So first of all, thank you everyone. Thank you for joining this session. So today's session on SAP hybrid application development in offline mode. So this is one of the interesting session it's going to be because hybrid application with offline. This is one of the peak demand in the market. Whoever is dealing with SAP Fiori, SAP UI5, uh, S4 HANA, they're already aware of it. This is one of the approach which is really recommended and also been used in different origins. And this feature is one of the most appreciated feature we have in the Fiori developments. So like we're trying to cover this course, putting into the content like in this course content we are going to cover like your application development in Android. We're also going to touch upon the iOS part in iOS SDKs. Also we're going to touch upon on some of the areas in the cloud platform as well, so that it will be covered. You'll be having the complete knowledge about how to develop a mobile application in your on-premise, on your cloud, across different OS. So that should be the major like topic or agenda of this course. Like today's session, we are going to understand like what is basically this mobile application, what is the skill set you must be having it, and like what is this approach called hybrid application development, like what is the difference between different technique like a hybrid and a native. There is some cross platform, there are some concepts are there. What are those concepts? Then what does it mean by offline, like why this is so much appreciated and why this feature is important to have in your application. Then also like we're going to understand the offline architecture and also concentrate how do you configure your system to continue and build your application hereafter. That should be the major content of today's discussion. So first of all, like going to take a like brief this application. Basically, like if you are having a knowledge about UI5, it will be really added advantage, because here we are not going to touch upon those like coding technique in terms of the basics of UI5, how to like what is UI5 and like what is the data binding concept, what are the other things is there, like to design a screen from a very basic or a very basics of JavaScript, very basics of HTML5, CSS. That we are not going to touch upon, because we are going to concentrate more into the development part of offline. So but we will be just trying to give you more information if you require. Like if somebody is unable to follow it up, please let us know, so we'll try to like give you enough information, or if it is required we'll also just show you a couple of things which can be helpful for you to relate your application development. So please let us know if any point in time if you felt like you're unable to understand. We'll be definitely try to make you understand how much time it is, like how many times it is required. So we will be okay for that. Please be flexible and try to grab this opportunity, because this is going to add a new skill set on your career. And also like as a SAP Fiori developer, you must be knowing this feature, because this is one of the rapidly asked feature in the development side of SAP Fiori. So let's start today's session. So if somebody is not aware of at all Fiori and UI5, I just give a brief about that in the first session, and then we'll just start developing or start giving you more information about this course. So like I'll tell you. So if somebody thinks of like what basically SAP Fiori or UI5 is doing, so I'll just give you a backstory of SAP. So SAP, they have evolved on the front-end technology, and they have evolved rapidly on this front-end technology in couple of decades. Like you might have heard about it, SAP has initially dealing with something called R3 screen. So where you'd be just open up let's say your SAP GUI screen or ABAP report, that would be in the R3 screen. It used to be available. There you would be executing some program like some T code, you'd be executing it and you'd be doing the operation there. Then what SAP thought, like let's bring something, some innovations on the front end technology, and they have came up with something called Webd in Pro. Something called Webd in Pro. So in this Webd in Pro, it was completely Java based, and you can able to see some UI interface, some websites which contains the same sort of information used to be there in R3 in a different look and feel, and I mean it will be available in Webd in Pro. You can be able to run this application over the network or browser. You can just run the application on the browser and you can perform your task. But this was completely different. Altogether the experience was also different. Also it was not accessible quite easily on the different browsers. Now then SAP thought, like, what we can do next. So what SAP thought, let's come up with some other thing, which then they have did one more innovations, and they have came up with something called Fiori. So when you talk about this Fiori, so this Fiori is much advanced in terms of the user experience, in terms of the features, in terms of the responsiveness. Responsiveness become one of the key factor in Fiori, because WebDin Pro R3 or the previous whatever the user interface SAP has bring to the audience, it was not responsive. What does it responsive mean? Responsive means like the application that you are opening up, like let's say I'll be opening any of the website here, let's say sap.com or let's say SAP. So when I open this SAP software, if you can see, like it is quite easily fitting on the screen. But if I just go to the mobile mode, I will be having different resolutions and the screen size. If I refresh it, I can see the website is again completely fitting it into that mobile screen. The alignment also automatically got changed, and how it looking it in mobile is a different thing. You can also change the device for an iPad. You can see it here. You can also change to different devices like let's say Pixel 5. So based on the different resolution, based on the different screen size, automatically this screen is getting rendered properly. So this is called a responsiveness. But this was not responsive when the application was opening in WebDin Pro either R3. So Fiori was definitely become appreciated due to some extremely wanted feature like this mobile responsiveness, user experience, that become Fiori much more appreciated on the front end side of SAP. Now SAP was thinking like, so this become my Fiori application. So now if somebody is aware of Fiori application, you guys already know, like we used to be develop multiple applications in Fiori, and how Fiori works. Like definitely Fiori works based on some guidelines, some principles, some design principles Fiori carries, like where we will be having a Fiori launchpad, right? Fiori FLP, Fiori launchpad. In that Fiori launchpad, what we used to have? We used to have different tiles that are basically different applications. If somebody have already used this SAP Fiori, like SAP Fiori Launchpad, already have seen, like you will be having different tiles like this. Once you open up in any of the tiles, automatically the respective application which is developed in UI5 would be opening. So Fiori is the design principle, design guidelines, and UI5 is the technology being used to develop those applications, right? So now, talking about this, so this Fiori FLP was accessible by the Fiori Launchpad link. If you have the Fiori Launchpad link that you can open up in your browser and you can access that, right? Now, what are the other options you can do it to use Fiori Launchpad? There was one more option SAP has came up with, that is called a Fiori Client app. That is called a, so SAP Fiori Launchpad is accessible one in browser. If you have the Fiori Launchpad link, run the FLP URL on the browser to open the launchpad. Now, this is one way of opening or accessing the Fiori applications. Number two, SAP also said we are providing one application that is called as SAP Fiori Client Mobile App. If you go and download this SAP Fiori mobile client, SAP Fiori Client mobile app from the public store, it is available in Apple, like Apple Store, Google Play Store. So if you are interested to open this, so what you can do, you can just go and download this application, and there you need to just have the Fiori Launchpad URL. If you configure it, you can access the Fiori Launchpad also. Now, these are the two options SAP has given. Now, SAP is thinking like, can it be done something on the hybrid side? Like the application, if somebody is expecting one application, as an example, let's say I have built an application, I'm building an application as an example, let's say like EHS application, environmental health and safety. So in that application, what we are planning to have, everybody should be installing that application in their mobile phone, and if sometimes some problem happens in the organization, or in the, let's say you are doing your business, like you are a manufacturing company, and you also like building some application on the Fiori side, and you wanted to just have install one application called as, let's say, environmental health and safety, let's say safe house application, that has to be installed everyone, all the like employees system. So anything, any hazards or any incident happen, they can automatically go and report that incident. So for that purpose, you don't want to be like constrain the users to open the launchpad URL, go to Fiori client and configure it. Those things are not required. Let them directly give an app like the other apps application we have in our mobile phone. That should be really exciting, and also would be providing something on the offline feature. So that would be like they can also communicate to the application even though they doesn't have internet. So SAP was thinking about in that particular side on the hybrid application development. So that also become really appreciated, that concept, and that concept now they have started providing some feature that you can use it and build your application as a hybrid model with an offline feature. That also we're going to discuss. Now that is basically that the center of discussion of this course. This you have already aware of it. This is you already know how to configure Fiori, how to run Fiori client app. So those things might be already aware of you. Now the third point I was talking about, that is basically the hybrid concept, like hybrid app development. Now this is basically we are going to discuss in this course. Now coming to discuss about this like hybrid application development, like this term is very important. Hybrid, what does it mean by a hybrid? Like hybrid, if you think of hybrid in a very generic sense, like it is basically a mix of something, right? And it provides you something really great. So that is called basically the hybrid. So before going to start about hybrid, or we should just talk about hybrid app, I'll just add one more word, hybrid mobile app development. Now when I just added this mobile app development, so this mobile app development is a very vast area of development. Like if you think about different application that we have, that we usually use every day, like WhatsApp, we are having Instagram, all the social media platforms that we have, like Facebook, or all our like food booking applications, or our we have our like cab booking services like Ola, Uber. Then we have different like food booking services. So there are so many applications that we are using every day to punch data. Now this concept, like this concept, like what are the different type of application, mobile application developments are available in the market. If you think of, there are two things is very usually, mostly used actually, that is called a hybrid and then native. So one is called hybrid Okay, let me not use here. Let me save this one. So, the mostly used terminology that we used to heard from everyone, that is called hybrid native app. Okay, so there are, okay, so we got also a few questions. Let me also hear out some questions. Like Satya has asked, is it's deprecated now, the Fiori client, isn't it? So just for your information, Satya, we got it is not deprecated. SAP has given on information, like this information has been like published last year, like SAP Fiori client would be removed from the public stores. It will be removed in the sense like quite easily now it was accessible and available. Like if you go to Apple Store or Google Play Store, you can just type it like Fiori client. It would be available right there. But what SAP has recently published, it is still available. It is still available. But the thing is like it is still available, but they are going to remove from the public stores by end of this April to 2022. Once they have removed it, what they are saying it like why they are removing it, first of all, they are saying like all the different browsers that we have, which is supported in the mobile like OS, as an example, Safari for iOS, Chrome for let's say Android, or Chrome for iOS. So those browsers capability are very strong nowadays, and they felt like the importance of having this application is very quite less, so the usage also less. Now SAP, that's what they're putting this application, they're not removing it from, it is completely, it is not getting dumped, it is they're removing it from the public store and they're putting into their like SAP marketplace. So if somebody or some of the organization, they felt like no, I want to use it still, you need to download that application, that Fiori client application from the SAP marketplace, and you can use it. There are some conditions here and there is there, but you can use it. So the application is still available, but it would be just removed from the public domain. That is the right information actually. Yeah. So but it is still available. It will be like removed it from the public stores by this April end. That is the further confirmation SAP has given. So now coming back to this concept, like where we are discussing about this hybrid and native application, like these are the two word might have already seen or might have already heard about it, and if you not heard about it, but you guys are silently using it, there are different applications which is there in hybridly built, which is built in hybrid model, which is built in native model. Now, before going to just go and talk about this hybrid and native app, let me tell you like what is the difference between these two. What are this concept of like building this application in hybrid model or a native model? Now, when I talk about like a native application development, let me just like discuss about this hybrid structure and native structure. Just if I talk about the native first, let me put down some points which are very important for native. Development. So now when you talk about a native app development, which is very like this native application development model is completely refers to applications where let's say I want to build an application in my iOS platform. I want to build an application specifically for my Android platform. Now, let's say today Satya is basically owner of a company and he is planning to roll out one solution, and that solution, let's say it's a global solution, and that solution is also to be used in a mobile devices. Now, Satya has chosen this native concept of building the application. Okay. Now, what Satya needs to do it first of all. Now, once he has just choose this native application development model, first thing Satya has to develop the application. If he is planning to roll out this solution for all the users like iOS users, Android users, or Windows users, a different platform, then what he needs to build it and decide like the application need to be built in iOS separately, need to be built Android separately, or Windows. So these are the platforms, or let's say these are my OS, operating system. So this operating system, each and every individual operating system is having their own way of writing code. Like the code that you'll be writing in for Android would not match with iOS because the programming language itself is different. You can build an application in Windows that is also different, like coding technique and coding language will be involved. So like if you're considering a developer, let's say now Karthik is a developer who is supporting Satya to build this application in native model. So Karthik, if he wants to build the application for iOS, so Karthik should be having a skill set specifically for iOS mobile development. If Karthik is going to build application in native model for Android, he also must be having the same skill set for Android development. Same applies for Windows as well. Like you cannot use the same set of code, whatever you are, if you are thinking like there should be a generic code and that generic code I'll be implying all this OS. That is not going to happen in native application development. That is going to happen in hybrid development model. Means for this technique, if you approach this particular model, for this you need not to maintain different code base. You need not to develop 3 different or 4, what are the platforms that you are going to choose. Platform or OS specific code need not to be maintained for hybrid. So here need to develop apps for different OS. Number 1, which is very problematic job. Number 2, manage source code for all different OS. Number 3, I'm not going to write about like the competency or the knowledge of writing code. That might be you can get enough developers who are building iOS specifically, Android specifically, and Windows specifically. So now if I do the counter for this web like hybrid model, this one what I supposed to write? For hybrid model, there should be a common code developed and can be used for different OS. The same code, whatever you have written for Android, can be used for iOS as well, can be also build the application for Windows as well. So that is basically, and this is what one of the like very important feature to have for hybrid. Number 2, manage source code and for all different ways. Now if you think about this particular task, manage source code for different ways. Now let's say Shata would be really annoying if I am asking him, sir, I need this repository to maintain my iOS code. I want to have this repository to maintain my Android code, for an Windows a separate repository. Now one new feature is been going to be implemented or some bug came in any of the in the application, mobile application. So for the user standpoint, I'm using a mobile app. I'm using it which OS, that doesn't matter for me. So for me, this is one of the bug in this particular application. Now, if you think about the headache as the owner of the application, should I need to fix that application in iOS first? Should I also need to do parallelly one more build for the Android and for the Windows as well? So managing the source code is going to be one of the toughest job for choosing this native application. So if I think about this, now definitely can't I say this hybrid is easy to manage in terms of source code, in terms of development, in terms of everything. Number three, once I talk about I need to be build iOS separately, Android separately, Windows separately. That means I need to have sort of separate resources hired for building those applications. So that means can I say like this is too much time consuming for native, but it is less time consuming for Android, sorry, for hybrid model. So less time consuming. This is one of the added advantage for hybrid. Now, if I talk about less time consuming, can I also say then when it is less time consuming that means it is more cost effective, isn't it? Definitely you understood like resources would be less, time frame would be less, then definitely it will be cost effective. Now you'd be asking me a question. Okay, I understood your justifications. But tell me then why Facebook didn't come up with this hybrid model? Why Facebook or why Instagram didn't come up with this hybrid model? Are they stupid or what? They're ready to pay a huge amount and they are going to manage the source code, or what is their motto then? Now let's talk about there are definitely some added advantage what native application also carries. Now native application is having some supreme feature. Those supreme feature you can't be able to make it quite easily for hybrid. I'll not say it is not possible. It is possible because hybrid is completely like what to say. It is very flexible. There are so many open sources can be able to make it through, but it is not quite like this is quite easy for native to use it. Those features. What is those features? Number one feature when I talk about is that is the native UX. Now let's say I'm talking about an iPhone user. Now iPhone is having a certain look and feel. iPhone is having some certain like user experience. If you have used iPhone and if you're using iPhone, you're already aware of it. You know that particular flavor. Now if somebody comes up and build an application given to you, the save button is right corner. Some of the application, let's say the back button is down. Somewhere like you have given some hamburger or some menu in the right hand side, you would be completely lost to that application, isn't it? Because you are not quite familiar with that experience. It will be quite new for you, right? So if you talk about that UX or the user experience, so every certain like OS is having their own user experience. iPhone is having their own, Android is having their common UX for all other different versions of Android. Windows also had the same. Now if somebody don't want to get an annoying feel, or let's say because if you think of like Android is having some different look and feel or different UX, iOS is also different UX. Now if I talk about the same single code can be used in all different OS, then I can also say the same UX can be carried for all different OS. Whatever the user experience after building this application is coming out for the user, that should be across all the OS. Android also same, you'll be also feeling the same, iOS also feeling the same, Windows also feeling the same. But for iOS users mentality, if he is not familiar with that UX, then he might be not accepting the app quite easily. No, here the buttons are here and there, I don't like it at all. So there is one of the major ask while just talking about big logos like Insta or Facebook or some XYZ or some applications. They're having their own sort of UX which is compiled with the OS that it is basically using it. Number 4, some of the OS is having their own set of controls. Like if you talk about UI5, UI5 also provides some around of 300 something UI controls. Their buttons are different, their forms are different, their tables are different. They're having different type of let's say graphs and charts, whatever they have come up with. Similarly, all the OS is having their separate user interface elements, that is called the widgets. Those widgets are different for iOS, for Android. So you would be getting that advantage while building a native applications for that specific OS. You can use it quite easily. There are so many plugins are available which is quite easily accessible or includable in this native application development. As an example, let's say Google Map integration. As an example, push notification implementation. As an example, auto update information. Like auto update is one of the key feature which native application development easily carried. Auto update means what? Let's say today Satya has build one version of the application and everybody really appreciated and installed it. And that application, the memory, at least let's say to install it, near about 50 MB you need to spend. Now that 50 MB you have installed the application, you have set up in your mobile, but Satya wants to carry a new version for the application with a new look and feel. At that time, what Satya is supposed to do? He would be launching a new version, and that's supposed to be updated automatically. You can't ask user, bro, go and uninstall the application and install it back, and again you just to have the new features you need to do it. You can't ask it like that, right? So for native, it is quite easily accessible. Like you can just release a new version whenever your system opens up the application. Then it will automatically pop up a window where it will be asking new versions available. Please update it. Click on a update button, it will be automatically updated. But hybrid here, you won't be able to get this sort of features quite easily. You need to build it by your own. Sometimes you need to use some third-party tool to build those features. But if you think about very generic way, you won't be able to make it auto update. You need to ask your user, uninstall the application and install it again. But if you are using some third party, like there is something called App Center, some Google Library, Google Play Store, there you will be having some agreement where you can upload the new version, and Google Play Store or Apple Store or your App Center, they will be taking a minimal charge on that to maintain that application new versions. Okay, so that is what is the different part of this. Only the problem or disadvantages for the hybrid. So again, to brief it, native application development is very what will I say, this applications look and feel, it will really excite you if it is properly built. Again, if it is properly built, if it is not built properly, then again you won't be able to get a nice experience at all. If the application development is build it in native, yes, it will take some time, it will also cost effective, but ultimately you would be able to get something really classy. If you take an example, if you open up the Instagram, or let's say Instagram is also nowadays available in hybrid, but if you think about WhatsApp or if you think about Facebook, so the experience is bit different if you compare with some hybrid application. Hybrid application, if you have already used, if somebody have used this SAP Fiori client, that is a hybrid model. If you have somebody have used what to say, so many are there. I think Instagram also coming up, Uber Eats, if somebody has used, also hybrid app. So there also experiences bit different, but sometimes you may feel it. If you're thinking as a developer point of view, you might have feel that. I'll tell you where you can feel it. I'll show you. If you do that, you can understand that can be understandable quite easily. It is built in hybrid, that is not built in native. That will come in the later point in time of the course. So that is the major differences between these two different like development model that used to be carried in mobile application development platform. Now, if you have any questions in this, please ask me. Stephen, I think he was still facing the same issue. Are you there, Stephen? So, okay, I think you are unable to hear the audio itself. Santosh, just to inform you, I have just set everybody in a mute mode. I'm right now in the lecturer mode. So, okay, if you want to ask something, what will I do? I'll put everyone in an open mode. If you have any questions, please unmute yourself and speak out. Please don't keep it unmute, otherwise the background noises will be coming up and your recording would be completely gone actually. So please be responsible there. I'll just putting all of you in open mode. If you have any questions, can ask, and if somebody are mute.
Are you able to hear me now, Karthik?
Yes, I can hear you.
So the term hybrid only has to do with the mobile cross-platform applications, but not necessarily an application that is supposed to work on the web and mobile at the same time. Is that a right statement?
You can state like that. So I'll just quickly add few more information down to that. Like when you talk about the cross-platform, let's say there are two way. Like, see, if you're running an application in the mobile phone. Okay, I'm putting in the lecturer mode. I can see there are some background noises. So yeah, answering to your questions, like if I have built an application, let's say Fiori application, that Fiori applications can be used and can be rendered in mobile as well. I'm talking about the mobile browser. If you run and type the URL on the mobile browser, then definitely the application will work. At the same time, if you run the application in the desktop with the link, I'll be getting the desktop flavor. If I also wanted to save that link in my mobile as a like hyperlink, I can also save that. I can open up the application in the mobile browser. Now I'll tell you one thing here. So hybrid is the concept where you basically how you are running your application on the mobile browser, it will also try to do the same thing. But you won't be able to feel that because the browser experience, they're going to hide it. Like technically they are running the application on the default mobile browser itself. But you won't be able to feel it because they're hiding that experience. They're hiding that URL wherever the URL boxes used to type the URL, those things they're going to hide it. And they're going to give you an overall experience like where you would be able to see like the application is running quite smoothly and look and feel is pretty good if you compare to the running the application on the mobile browser. So in the cross-platform, yes, it can be used across different devices, across a different technique process, but in hybrid what it will do ultimately here you would be able to get an application like the application other application you have Facebook Messenger or Instagram. Similarly, one app icon would be there for your application. Let's say Safe House or Safe XYZ, and if you click on that particular application, it will be open up that application on a hybrid mode. But technically, on the background, it is running the application on your mobile browser only. But you won't be able to feel that. That is what the magic is. I'm able to answer. Okay, there's a question Santosh has asked, like the topics that we are discussing here from the hybrid perspective is definitely different from developing HTML Fiori app. No, it's not. It's not actually. It's not. So the magic is the application, like the development that you're going to do it here, like whatever the development you used to do it for Fiori, you used to do it for UI5. The concept would be same, the code would be also same, but you can run it in the hybrid model. So you need not to build a separate skill set like, okay, I am a hybrid developer, hybrid offline developer skill set. It's a separate skill set. It is not having that. As a part of a Fiori background or a UI5 background, how you used to write the code, the same code would be only there. But we will be packaging the application in a hybrid. But top of that, we are going to add some flavor of offline. That might be a new sort of code which you not used to write in your Fiori developments. Right? That is the only difference it is going to happen. So now you have asked a second question like, runs on the desktop as well as mobile, correct? No, it will not run on desktop. It will not run on desktop. We are not building any cross-platform application. We are just building a hybrid app. You need to use your mobile, and we are going to download the app like how you used to download your application from Google Play Store. Similarly, we are going to build an APK file for Android, IPA file for iOS, like how you guys used to download the application and a different application in from the Play Store or the stores. Similarly, you're going to build an application. The application would be your UI5 Fiori application only, but it would be acting as an app, like a WhatsApp app or a Facebook app. That process would be an app. So am I able to answer your question? By desktop, you won't be able to run the application on desktop. This is very sure about it. Like you are going to use only your mobile phone to use the application, because if you're an Android user, we will be providing you an Android app, which will be basically an APK file. And if you're an iOS user, we will be building up an IPA file, and you can install that IPA file inside your mobile as an application, like the other application happening in your mobile phone. So there is nothing to be related with the desktop, because we are not going to test, we are not going to run anything on the desktop first of all. Okay. So now, am I able to answer your question, Santosh? Is it clear now? And okay, one more question. We'll be using the mobile development kit for this. Mobile development kit, we'll be using it when we'll be discussing about the SAP cloud platform like the SAP BTP side. But in this process, initially we'll be starting with without mobile development kit. Why? Because mobile development kit is one of the like service provided by SAP BTP, and it is a costly tool. You need to have the like SAP mobile services. I'm talking about in the real cases. I'm not talking about the trial. So considering that, first major focus would be on the development of this offline application without using the MDK, with a local the on-premise model, which does not include any cost, any licensing. It is completely free. That model we'll be learning. Also, we are going to discuss about mobile development kit when we are going to discuss on the SAP BTP side. There also we'll try to learn how will you build the application in mobile development kit using the mobile service provided by SAP BTP. Okay. Oh, Stephen, can you hear us now? So there is one more question Jafar has asked. Will you integrate the application on the OData service? Yes, definitely, sir, Jafar. Like how we used to do a full-fledged Fiori application, we will be using the OData service also. But here in this course, we are not going to build a OData service from scratch. We would be using our existing OData service that we are going to use it and show you how will you use it in the offline mode also. Okay. Okay, so guys, now Stephen is onboarded. I think he is able to resolve his problem by his own. And thank you, Stephen, for on all the effort, and apologize from our side actually. Okay, now coming back to the topic. So what we have learned now, what is the concept of how SAP Fiori application can be accessible. Then also understood about the concept of mobile application, hybrid application, difference between hybrid and native. Now let's discuss about the offline feature. This is quite interesting, guys. Just try to learn it. So let me save this one for our references. Now the offline mode. When you talk about this offline mode, this is quite interesting.
So what will I do? First of all, I'll give you an example. How this offline, what is an offline mode first? Today, if you open up an application, uh, offline mode, most of you have already used it. I don't know you guys are knowingly use it or unknowingly use it, but used it. So let's say if somebody have used Facebook, now, did you guys check it? You are disconnected from the internet. You are not at all using internet, but if you open up the Facebook, it will show you some more feed information, some of the images that is already you have seen some quite hours back, or also you can also see and read some like a post which has been already been like you've already seen some times back. So those values are coming from where? So those values are coming from the offline mode. Like whenever you are running like any of the application, what application does? Application download the data from the server. What they do? What they generally do this? Like let's say you are having the mobile application. Now this application, whenever you are opening it, definitely to open the application, you must be need some network, some Wi-Fi or some network is required. So that network is basically helping us to download the resources and open up the application in your screen. So now let's say the initial time you're opening the application. Now once you open up the application, there are some information would be displayed in this application. Those information will be coming from where? Definitely it will be coming from the backend server. So this is my app and this is my backend server. Now initially when you're opening the application, you have to have internet connectivity in your phone. Once you have the internet connectivity, it will call from here. From this app will make a call to the server, ask, hey, you give me the information. And this call is basically going to be the OData call. It will ask, give me all the information. So the OData service will be called to the backend server. Backend server responds back with the list of information to be displayed. This concept we call as a master data download. Means for this application, whatever the data you are going to deal with, all those master data is going to download in a single shot. Like what is an example? Let's say you have built so many Fiori applications. So you might have already aware of it. Some of the applications or some of the transactional application where, let's say as an example of create purchase order. If you want to create a purchase order or if you want to create a sales contract, definitely you need to fill some information before going to save or before going to post that like contract. As an example, like if I talk about this create purchase order, you'll be selecting material, you'll be selecting batch, selecting storage locations, vendor, XYZ information should be there. And those information would be coming from server only, and it would be displayed on the screen as a Fiori F4 help fragment. You used to select from there and it used to continue. So what generally we used to do it, generally like we used to make a call to the server and ask all those informations, all those F4 help, the basic information, you give it in a single shot. Once it give it in a single shot, in this application we are going to maintain something called offline store. Something called as offline store. Now this offline store is the main important part of this offline. I'll talk about the offline store. So what it will do, it will call all the data from the backend and store in this offline store. Then if you disconnect it, there is no internet, there is no server call. Now as the data is there in the offline store, inside the app only it is there. The data would be fetched when the connectivity is not there from this offline store to the app. Understand the concept? It will not depend on the data from the server. Data already downloaded from server, kept in the offline store. Next time onwards, if the connectivity is not there, then just take it from the offline store. That is the concept of offline mode. Now, you'd be asking me a question, Karthik, like, okay, I got the details, you store it and this it. How about posting the information? If I want to save some record, I don't have internet. How it will be go and post it into this? It will not post. But you can perform that posting. How? Whenever the application like to post that, like to create a sales contract or create a purchase order, whatever the values are required, that I'm already downloaded from the server, kept it in the offline store. I'll be giving you all the information to fill it. You fill it. While you click on the save button, I'll not hit to the server because there is no connectivity. If the connectivity is there, I'll directly hit to the server. If the connectivity is not there, then that information also, I'll be collecting all the information whatever you have filled it, and I will store back inside the offline store again. I'll be using this offline store to store it, to hold it as a pending item. Whenever you connect back to internet, what will I do? I'll just ask you, there is a connectivity. Do you want to sync it to the backend automatically, or I can give you a button, sync it manually. Once you hit to sync, I'll again check connectivity is there. Yes, it is there. Then hit the data to the backend as a post call from the OData service. Understanding the concept of this offline? Whenever the connectivity is not there, then use this offline store to hold your data. Whenever connectivity is back, sync the data from the offline store. So it will be removed from the data from the offline store, sent to the server. So offline store, whatever the capacity it has, it would be still there. Right? This is the concept of offline mode. Now you would be asking me two interesting questions. Okay, number one, what is this offline store then? How do you get the offline store? And also, how do you understand whether the connectivity is there or not? In my mobile phone, internet is there or not there. How do you understand it? You can understand it by using some plugins. Now what will say, okay, what is plugins then? Plugins are basically some set of components are available that you can use it while building any hybrid application. This is applicable for native as well. So those components, there is a component called network information that I'll tell you later. So that component, if I install into this hybrid application, that component is quite easily installable. Once you add that plugin, then what it will do, you can call that plugin to find out whether you are in a connectivity mode or you are without internet. So your first, like your second question is resolved. Now first question, what is this offline store? So there are different type of offline stores are available. As an example, we are having different type of like offline store. One is called SQLite database. One is called IndexDB. So these are the two very common and popular database offline store, but we'll be using SQLite DB because that is the updated version of IndexDB and it is having quite interesting feature. Like this is the local database or the offline database. We are going to use it inside your app itself. Means in this app itself, we are going to use this database. Now you would be asking one more question. If you are going to do it, will it not be my application would be slow, or the performance would be hazard, or the application size would be too much? I'll not say it will be application size would be too much, but application size will be increased a bit, but there will be no impact on the performance. Eventually you can say the performance will be much more faster than your expectation. Okay, so that is the concept of an offline model and offline application development. Now if you have any questions, you can ask me. Understood what is the concept of offline? Okay. So now to build this offline hybrid application, you must be having some sort of software installed in your device. Like, how do you build it? How do you build the application? Like, what is the setup you need to have? That setup is very, very important to have it. Otherwise, without having that feature or that software configuration, you won't be able to develop it. Okay. Now let's take a quick break for 5 minutes and let's concentrate then how do you do the setup. Let us set up if you are an Android user. If you are using an Android phone, then follow a standard setup. I'll show you. And if you're an iOS user, if you're using an Apple or MacBook or something, you have to just install some separate softwares to build your application. So we have already, I think, sent the assignment. If somebody has already followed, it's a well and good. If not followed, we need to do it actually. I'll just show you the steps to be followed. Okay. So let's connect back in